You pull into the trailhead parking lot at 4:47 in the morning, and the engine ticks as it cools, and there is nothing out there but dark. Not the dark of a bedroom or a street at night. The dark of something enormous being very quiet. You sit with both hands on the wheel of a truck that has 214,000 miles on it and a crack running the full width of the dashboard, and you stare at where the canyon must be. Somewhere past the tree line to the west, invisible. A void that you can feel the way you feel a drop in air pressure before a storm. The backpack in the passenger seat has been packed and repacked twice. Camera, field journal, 2 liters of water, a granola bar, a compass, a topo map with a route drawn in red pen, and a letter folded so many times the creases have gone white. The letter is from a university geology department. It says the scholarship is $18,000. It says the portfolio deadline is in 19 days. It says the winning submission must demonstrate original field observation. You have read it 40 times. You have it memorized the way you have the canyon memorized, which is to say completely, which is to say from books and photographs and library databases, which is to say not at all. You grew up 90 miles east of here in a town where the main industry closed before you were old enough to understand what an industry was. Your father worked maintenance at a state park and came home smelling like pine resin and diesel, and on good nights he would sit on the porch with you and point west and say that the canyon was the one thing in Arizona that couldn't be repossessed. You studied it the way other kids studied athletes or musicians. You know its depth at the widest point is 6,093 feet. You know its layers by name in descending order. You know everything about it except the one thing your father said whenever you talked about going. The rock looks solid until the moment it isn't. You get out of the truck. The temperature is 41 degrees. Your breath is visible. The parking lot light above you buzzes and flickers, and across the trailhead fence there is a metal sign that catches the light just enough to read. Warning: unstable terrain. Fatalities have occurred. You read it, you photograph it, you step around it. The maintained trail ends 1.3 miles in at a barrier with orange tape and a second sign identical to the first. The route to Osiris Temple requires crossing a closed section of rim, a promontory that juts southwest over the inner gorge where, after a cycle of seasonal erosion that happens once every several years, the Kaibab limestone cap sheds its surface layer and exposes the Torowap Formation beneath in a clean cross-sectional face that tells 270 million years of planetary history in a single visible sweep. The exposure window opened 12 days ago. The scholarship deadline is in 19. Without the scholarship, there is no university. Without university, there is no way out of the town 90 miles east. You have done the math more times than you have read the letter. You step past the barrier. Sunrise catches you on the upper shoulder of the canyon at 6:20 a.m., picking across loose scree on a slope the topo map marked as navigable. The light comes sideways and turns the rust-orange rock the color of a coal ember, and under different circumstances you would stop. You don't stop. The compass confirms your bearing. The frozen soil crunches under your boots with each step, and the canyon opens to your left, slowly, the way a curtain rises, revealing itself in horizontal bands of color. Pale Kaibab at the top, rust supai below it, the gray red wall limestone further down, and at the bottom, so far below it looks like a brushstroke, the Vishnu schist, dark and ancient, 1.7 billion years old, older than complex life, older than almost anything you can name. 15 minutes in, you hit the limestone descent the map didn't fully capture, a near vertical drop maybe 15 feet over a face of loose Kaibab. You lose 20 minutes moving carefully, testing each foothold before committing weight, pressing palms flat against the rock face for balance. Halfway down, a chunk the size and weight of a hardback book shifts under your left hand. It doesn't fall. It just moves, settles, goes still again. Your heartbeat is loud for a moment, then it isn't. You keep going. You note your compass bearing in the field journal. You do not note the moving rock. Your boot sole has been peeling at the left toe since this morning. You noticed it at the truck. You decided it didn't matter. By 8:15, you're on the ridge approach and you can see it. Osiris Temple, the promontory extending out over the inner gorge, and on its face, exactly where the geological surveys predicted, the Torowap exposure. The erosion has done precisely what it was supposed to do. The surface limestone is gone, and beneath it, the Toro Wap Formation is laid open in a clean, pale sweep of ancient seafloor compressed into stone, its layers visible like pages of a book left open in the sun. You stop walking. You stand on the ridge and you look at it for a full minute without moving. This is the feeling you came for. Not the photograph, not the scholarship, not the escape. This, the sense that the years of solitude and study and the town that couldn't be escaped and the letter read 40 times were all a corridor, and this is what the corridor led to. The feeling is warm in a way you haven't felt warm in longer than you can locate. You forget for exactly the wrong amount of time to check your watch. When you check, it reads 8:22. You are ahead of schedule. This is the most dangerous thing that has happened so far. You reach the promontory at 9:08. From the safe section, you take 34 photographs. You review them on the camera screen one by one with the same precision you bring to everything. They are good. Any one of them could anchor a portfolio, but in each frame, the angle is slightly wrong. A rock outcrop on the right edge of the promontory cuts into the composition and obscures the lower third of the Toro Wap face. To get the clean shot, you need to move approximately 6 feet further west along a narrow shelf, maybe 18 inches wide, that runs along the outer edge of the promontory above the inner gorge. You crouch and examine the shelf. You press on it with one hand. It doesn't move. The rock is pale Kaibab limestone, bone white in the morning light, surface rough under your fingers, cold. It looks solid. You press harder. Nothing shifts. You stand up, and your father's voice comes from somewhere in the back of your skull, and you take a step onto the shelf. The first time you go out on it, you take 2 photographs and come back. The second time, 3 photographs. Each time you return to the safe section of the promontory, the fear decreases by half. By the 4th time, it is gone. This is the point of no return, not the first step. The moment the fear stops. By 9:34, you have frame 51. The formation fills the left 2/3 of the image. The canyon drops away behind it. The morning light catches the exposed face at the exact angle that reveals its layering. You hold the camera screen up and look at it, and the thing in your chest that has been clenched for as long as you can remember releases. You sit down on the promontory with your legs over the edge, and you eat the granola bar, and you drink water, and you write 3 sentences in the field journal. You put the date. Below you, the canyon is 800 feet deep at this point, and the air rising from the inner gorge is cold and smells of mineral dust and something older than anything you have a name for. A raven crosses the air beneath your feet without flapping, riding a thermal, effortless. You watch it until it disappears. While you are watching the raven, you hear a sound. A low tick, like a knuckle joint, like cooling metal. You look down at the rock beneath you. You see nothing. You tell yourself it is the canyon making percussive sounds against its own walls, which it does, which is a real thing. You are right that the canyon makes sounds. You stand to leave. When you stand, the shelf feels different under your left boot. Not unstable, just different. A faint give, like pressing on wood that has gone hollow inside. You file it, you move on. You begin reviewing the photographs one final time before the hike out, and you stop on frame 47. In the lower left corner of frame 47, partially in shadow, there is a crack. A tension fracture running parallel to the outer edge of the shelf, approximately 3 inches wide. You zoom in on the camera screen. The crack is not new, but the rock along its upper lip is fresh, pale, chalky. Recent fracture exposure. You know what that means. You know it the way you know the names of the strata. A tension crack at the base of a cantilevered limestone shelf means the shelf is not bonded to the main formation by as much rock as it appears. It means the shelf is a slab waiting for a final load. You have been the load. 9 separate times this morning. You study the image for 45 seconds. You assess, you plan. You decide the safest exit is to move slowly, weight distributed carefully, and step off the shelf at its widest connection point back the way you came. The plan is correct. The geology is right. You take a breath and you step back onto the shelf. 2 steps from the safe section, you stop to adjust the camera strap, which has slipped from your shoulder. You shift your weight to your left foot to free your right hand. It is not a dramatic movement. It is small and routine and completely unconsidered. It is the kind of movement a person makes 1,000 times a day without thinking. The sound is not a tick this time. It is a crack, sharp and total, like something the canyon has been holding back since before you were born. You feel the shelf move, not gradually. The word for it is not shift or crumble or tilt. The word is gone. The shelf is simply gone from beneath you, and there is nothing to stand on, and your hands find nothing, and the camera swings out on its strap, and for one fraction of a second, it is level with your face, frame 51 still on the screen, perfect, exactly what you came for, and then it goes with you. The cold hits first. The air inside the canyon is colder than the rim, and you fall into it the way you fall into deep water. The canyon wall scrolls past you not as a blur but in terrible clarity, each stratum passing at speed. And the part of your brain that will not stop being what it is reads them in order on the way down. Kaibab, Torowayap, Coconino, Hermit, Supai. You hit the Coconino sandstone at approximately 200 feet, a glancing impact on your left side that spins you. It does not stop you. Below you, the red wall limestone is the color of dried blood, and it is ancient and it does not move. And it has been here for 340 million years, and it will be here long after today. And the wind generated by your own velocity is the loudest sound you have ever heard, and then it isn't. Up on the rim, nothing changes. The wind continues from the northwest. A raven, the same one, or a different one, lands on the safe section of the promontory, tilts its head, and looks down into the gorge. Then it looks away. In the trailhead parking lot, the truck sits in the same space with the engine cold and the cracked dashboard, and in the glove box, the scholarship letter folded along lines gone white. 3 weeks later, the scholarship committee announces its winner. The portfolio contains a photograph of the Toroweap Formation at Osiris Temple. It was taken from the standard overlook with no ledge, no shelf, no tension crack, in the corner of frame 47. The angle is slightly imperfect. The lower third of the formation is partially obscured. It wins. The committee calls it more than sufficient. It was always more than sufficient. It was always enough. You died for the perfect shot. The imperfect one would have changed everything. The Grand Canyon receives around 5 million visitors a year, and the people who die there are almost never the reckless ones. They are careful people who read the signs and understood the warnings and made one logical decision too many on terrain that does not grade on logic. The shelf looked solid. The plan was correct. The geology was right. Every single thing was right except for the one thing that can't be planned for, which is that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old, and it was here before the concept of sufficient preparation existed, and it will not make exceptions. This story is fiction. The canyon is not. If that sat with you, subscribe and leave a comment with the one moment you think changed everything.